Hello, everybody. I am Dwayne.
And I'm Tom.
And this is
Our Recovery Life.
So, I know we've said this a couple times, but this is a big one. This is a really great story. Kind of how it all came about, and sometimes you send a message out in a bottle, and you get a reply. And how'd that happen?
I was sitting there watching America's Got Talent with my wife, and Nolan Neal was on, and he had a great story, and I got in contact with him, kind of sent out a message, and he actually replied, and ended up talking to his personal assistant and setting this one up. So,
I really think you guys are going to enjoy this one. He's such a down-to-earth, great guy, and definitely goes into the depths of what fame can do to you, and kind of how coming out of it on the other side. So
absolutely. Yeah, so we're not going to hold you up anymore.
Roll the intro.
Just a moment of silence, followed by the Trinity prayer. God,
grant
us
us
the
the serenity
to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for
Sure.
Special guest today.
Yeah, Nolan Neal. I was watching AGT with my wife, and caught a little bit of your story, and I was like, wow, that's a cool story. I should reach out, kind of take a long shot, and well, it worked out, because here you are.
Dude, that's so cool. I'm grateful that I had this team in place to help me with messages, because we got almost 5,000 messages or more since June 16th.
Wow.
And it's crazy. When I was in rehab, this was actually 17 months sober today.
Congratulations.
And clean. So this time I'm actually clean and sober. So when I was on The Voice, I told them, I was like, all you can do is say that I'm clean because I'm not sober. I'm still drinking, but I'm okay. And it's like, anyways, I'll just start from the beginning. But I just wanted to say, shout out to my friend Dan, because of him, we were able to connect. 17 months ago, when I was in rehab, when I took a Greyhound bus to Oxford, Mississippi, I'd never been. I had a feeling it was going to be different that time because I took myself to treatment. And I met a guy there named Dan, and I met a bunch of great dudes there, and they had us divided. The females were over on this side of the lake, and then the men were over here. And we all had our, like cabins. There was like 10 people per cabin, and I brought my guitar, and just to kind of, therapy reasons, I heard you bring a guitar, and I brought it, and I ended up playing some songs in the cabin one day for the guys, and I played Lost, which I did on AGT, and then I did a couple other ones, like Send Me a Butterfly, and this song called Misery. And Dan, he's an older guy, he's like maybe in his 50s or something like that, and he was just like, man, I got a successful business back home, and he owns a funeral home, and he's like, if you stay sober and you keep going, man, if we stay sober out of here, I'm going to help you get your music out there. I'll connect you with some people and all this. And I was like, awesome, man, that's beautiful. I mean, I heard that so many times before. And so I just didn't even count on it at all. And then I went back to Nashville. I was going to a halfway house. NRC, amazing place, right there off Charlotte. And some good dudes out there, Ryan, Kane, Darren. Anyway, and I did the deal, man, and I just kept doing the deal. And about 6 months into it, I remember Dan just sent me a $7,500 check, and he wrote a letter, and he said, because I was like, we had talked about it before, and I was like, dude, I'll give you publishing, I'll give you some, whatever, my songs, and he was like, no, just you're giving away the farm, dude. He said, just pay me back when you can. And he didn't stop investing there, and he continued to invest. And I won't say the total, but he's invested a very awesome amount, which all went back into. Some of it did pay my bills during COVID, but he knew that. He got me a new computer, a lot of the gear that you saw up there in my studio. And more importantly, he helped me hire a team, an amazing team. We've been going now for over 2 months, and it's amazing. We went through a couple of different people, and people had left and came on board. Now we have this amazing team. We have a lot of volunteers who are helping out of the kindness of their heart. And basically, the main focus for us is to go through and read I want to make sure that every single message that comes through gets looked at, just in case somebody maybe is reaching out for help.
Yeah, for sure.
And luckily, that's how we connected. And so I may be going a little backwards with the story, but I just wanted to just kind of like, some movies where they start off at the end and they go to the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna
listen to me comparing my life to a movie.
It's kind of a Quentin Tarantino move.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But like I remember being at that sober living house, and it was different because I had been told many, many times that I should try an antidepressant, and I was against them completely. But I just knew that I was starting to crave again, and I was like, something's not right with me. And just chemically, I think that my brain needs time to heal, And so I had a DNA test done and found out that I could take this one specific medication. And so I was hanging there. I wasn't giving up. And I remember being at the whenever I got my, like after a month, you get your like privileges to be able to like leave, and have a curfew and stuff and come back by a certain time at night. I was in the Chick-fil-A parking lot in the drive-thru. And that was when I did my, basically my third step. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. Sitting there, and because I already admitted that I was powerless over drugs and alcohol, right? And then I believed that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity because I'd seen it happen before. But in that line, waiting for my freaking spicy chicken sandwich, I had this amazing awakening, this memory of being the singer for Hinder, okay? Multi-platinum rock band. I landed the gig back in 2013 because they posted on Facebook they were looking for a singer, and hundreds of people tagged me and said, he's the guy, he has a raspy voice. And then my buddy Billy Dawson went to college with Cody, and he's like, dude, make a video, send it to me. And then I had written songs with, Brad from Shinedown and Fuel and my buddy Bobby Emeru from Saliva. And so I called them up and I was like, hey, can you like hit their team up and like send them my music, And so they got hit from all these different directions. And before you know it, I remember I landed the gig, and then blink of an eye, it's like 6 months down the road, we've recorded a whole record. We have a song on the radio, number 45 on the Billboard 100 rock charts. And I'm at the Forks of the River Festival in Montana, and there was 10,000 people, literally 10,000 head count. I'm not even exaggerating, it's crazy. And we were the headliners, and what's crazy is like there was like Pretty Reckless and Pop Evil and all these bands that I was into that are backstage like talking to me, and they're like, dude, you're the headliner, man. That's so cool. Plus I had a personal trainer like 4 days a week because like Hinder was all about me being in shape. It's the best I ever felt in my life. And I remember being on that stage and singing. I remember hitting this one super high, like a high D. For a male singer, it's really tough to hit. And I nailed it, man. I hit that thing and I held it out. And the guy who was running sound on our stage, the monitors, he used to run sound for Extreme. And I remember looking over at him and he was like, and then the crowd roared so loud you could feel your cartilage shaking in your body. And this was everything I'd ever dreamed of my whole life, right? Everything I'd ever worked towards. I remember getting off that stage. It was the greatest show ever, right? I had the audience in the palm of my hand. I was making them laugh. It was such an amazing night. And then later on in the hotel room, I got drunk and started looking through Backpage to try to find a prostitute, not to have sex with, but to find some drugs from. And I could not figure out. It wasn't until that day in Chick-fil-A parking lot that I realized something that was life-changing for me. And it was, I had a memory of when I used to go, so rewind back now to when I was about a year and a half sober. I got sober the first time in 2010, right? But after, almost 2 years sober, I was able to go to treatment centers and share my story and play songs. And my friends made fun of me, called me Captain Recovery. I sponsored guys, and I remember going out to Stillwater's Recovery Center, Stillwater Serenity Center, I think it's called. It was about an hour and a half drive outside of Nashville in my little $1,100 car that I called Faith, because I had faith that was going to keep driving. And I remember I would go out there, man, and just feeling like crap, and I just always felt uncomfortable in my own skin, and I think everybody out there probably relates to that. It's a trait that we all have in active addiction, or the reason we end up using. But I remember I would leave after I would play for maybe 30, 40 guys. We'd all sit around the table and eat, and I'd play some songs, and the way that I do it is I just went to Milestones Treatment Center last week and did it, where I just go in and I kind of just talk to everybody like a normal person, and I'll play a song from the darkest times of my life, and then I'll just tell a little bit of story behind it, and then it's kind of what I may do a little bit of that here, but
for sure,
yeah, whatever you got.
But man, I'll just never forget that moment in Chick-fil-A parking lot, how I remember so clearly and vividly the drive leaving there, when I would be leaving to go back home, and just cranking the radio up and drumming on the steering wheel, my little $1,100 birth control mobile. Because you don't get laid in that car.
No.
There'd be times when I would forget I was driving. I'd be having a really good hair day, and I'd see a girl, I'd be like, what up? And then they wouldn't look back, they would look away. And then I would look at the car and go, oh, okay.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I forgot this thing had no rims on it. Anyways, so man, I just that's when it hit me, and I just said, okay, God, whatever you are. I've never really known exactly what God's name is. It astonishes me, people that know exactly what God's name is. I envy that. I don't really know. I just call it my higher power, God, something. Behind the curtain. I don't know what it is, but I just know that it's real because I've just seen the promises and the miracles come true before. But I just remember thinking to myself, I remember saying out loud, okay, I get it. Whatever you want me to do, whatever your will for me, that's going to be what makes me happy and at peace. And man, I changed all my passwords. Every single password I had back then was I'm at peace, with a number behind it, And some of them still are that today. But man, oh my God. And that's the reason why, even though I didn't have any sleep last night, and I wanted to just text and say, hey, let's reschedule this, guys, I was looking forward to grabbing my phone and doing it, because there's just something about this. If just a couple people, if one person hears it and they find some hope in what I say, then for whatever reason, that is, to me, I believe the pink cloud is something that you manifest by doing service work.
Yes.
Right.
And I used to always hear the pink cloud goes away after a while. And I think the reason it's there is because you spend the first 90 days really doing a lot of service work and helping people.
Right.
You don't even know you're doing it. Because you're well, I know me, I could say me instead of your, but I just, was still learning how to feel and learning how to act and learning how to, even breathe without having anxiety, so I didn't know I was helping shit. All I knew was that after a meeting, I was going to freaking Cracker Barrel with a bunch of people that I didn't know and having root beers and laughing and playing that little golf tee game, you know. It says you're an ignoramus, you know. So that's when I got it. That's when I finally got it. Because, you know, when I first got sober in 2010, I just didn't know that. I thought, okay, I got sober. I need to focus on this right now, but I still have to be a rock star because, well, my daughter, you know, I left her and abandoned her when she was younger to pursue music, so I have to show her that I made it big, you know, and I have to show her that. And my son, I left my son in Portland, Maine, you know, 2 different moms, and, you know, you know, when he goes to school, he needs to see, his friends need to see me on the TV because they need to know that I made it big. And that's why I left. And that was like my thoughts, and also just ego and wanting double blowjobs and everything else that I thought was going to come along. Forgive my language, please. I'm like a Keurig. I have no filter. I have terrible stepdad jokes. But yeah, man. So, you know, after 3 years sober, almost 3 years sober, around November, I was just obsessing about it, and I think that I overdid it. I 142 meetings in the first 90 days, and
Wow.
I think I just burned myself out. And also, I stopped going to meetings as much. Of course, that happens, you know. And then I started dating a woman who was much younger than me. I think that was part of like the only thing I could do that was kind of risque. I was 30 and she was 19, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know. I think it was something just like I had to go through, but she turned 21. We were together 2 years, and she was like, I want to go out and drink, you know, and get drunk and stuff, and you don't drink. And I started to feel like a freak, and I started to get really resentful at that. And
I remember that.
But anyways, you know, I just kept obsessing and just. I even came up with the best excuses ever. I was like, well, Bill W. did LSD, you know, or, you know, like why can John Butts, you know, chain smoke, you know what I mean, and freaking, like, he just had a freaking triple bypass surgery because he freaking eats all this freaking, you know, candy and sugar and Red Bulls and coffee and chain smoke. Like, smoking weed is more healthy than that. That was my thinking behind it. And it's crazy, man. I tried about 20 times to smoke weed, and that's it. Even with the knowledge that they told me that wouldn't be enough, I had to prove them wrong, and dude. But anyways, I'll stop there and go back to the beginning real quick. And just please tell me when, I don't know how much time you try to keep these.
No, you're doing great.
Like a 15-minute share, 30-minute share?
We've had everywhere from 15 to an hour and a half, so.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Tell your story.
All right, on. Well, let's see. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, October 5th, 1980. And then, you know, my mom and dad met in a band. My dad was a drummer. My mom was a singer. They told my dad, like, don't hook up with the singer. And my dad said he just loved the way my mom held that microphone. So that's what I heard growing up. And well, anyways, he didn't listen, and then I was born. And but while my mom was pregnant, my dad was having an affair with this woman who ended up becoming his wife later. And then, so at 6 months old, they divorced. And then my mom remarried a guy named Jeff with one F. That was fun. And Jeff Wilson was his name. Still alive today. But yeah, so they did music, and so, you know, my dad kept playing drums and like kind of bar bands and stuff, and my mom had gotten a gig singing. She was the voice of Patsy Cline in the Sweet Dreams movie for the live performances. That was her like claim to fame.
Really?
And I think I was either in her belly when she did that, or I was like 8 months old or something. I don't know. But so yeah, my mom sang in one of the best bands in Nashville called the Nashville Fat Cats. It was all these session players. So I just grew up around it all, and I hated it, man. I was bored to death. Like, I would always be like backstage, but really it's like a bar. So I'm like, in the kitchen, sitting on like the pickle buckets, just like hoping I can get some of that freaking apple cinnamon, butter bread or whatever. Like that was the highlight of my night. Or like sometimes my dad would get to sound check his drums, and I get to feel cool, but there was no other kids there usually. And so I was just like, this is not the life I want. And I wanted to be like a fireman or something like that. And so, and then my dad, I didn't really know what was going on, but I kept on going back and forth. Like I would live at my dad's for a year or two, and then that wouldn't work out. Then I couldn't go live with my mom, so I had to go live with my grandparents. And then they couldn't handle me anymore. Next thing I know, I'm like with a freaking social worker. There was always a social worker involved. and then my stepfather, I heard some yelling in the back room one day in their bedroom, and the door was already kicked in from a previous fight when I wasn't there. I didn't know what was going on. I looked through the door hole, and he's just punching her right in the freaking face, like man punches, dude. And I remember like freaking out, and I ran and called the police, and the police came, and my mom was like, nothing, he's just making it up, I'm fine, I fell, so like it was a cliche like story. And then I got in trouble, you know what I mean? I was like, why did you call the police, right? And then it turned into, call the police quick, because it kept getting worse and worse. And eventually, I mean, like the one of the last times he threw a remote control right at my head, and my mom blocked it, and it broke her hand. That's how hard he threw it. I remember he kicked me across the kitchen, and then one day I picked up a kitchen butcher knife, and I didn't have the courage to stab him with it. He just took it out of my hand and kicked me across the room. And Mom says, "Run, call the cops!" And I ran again and called the cops from my friend Jamie's house. And when they showed up, of course, it's fine. And then, so the last time it happened, he hit my mom in the head with a full jug of milk. Okay, milk burst all over the kitchen. She threw her coffee in his face, and they smoked tons of weed. That was their thing, was weed. And I remember they used to fight, like, I can't believe you smoked all this weed, but really I was stealing. Yeah, that was pretty shitty of me. But I mean, I think that's why I started reaching out for drugs. I mean, also my dad was super strict too, from the war in Korea. I don't think he fought in the war, but he was stationed over there, and it just messed him up a lot. And he was popping pills back then. I didn't even know about that because I was still young. And had my first shot of Crown when I was like 9 at a Christmas party. One of my dad's friends thought it'd be cool to give me some Crown, and then I don't know. I just remember like constantly chasing the bad crowd. Like I would just look for kids that had like earrings or like the slices in their eyebrows like Vanilla Ice, and I would just try to like go hang out with them after school, And of course I get made fun of because I'm like, my grandparents are dressing me, But like there was something that made me want to try anything I could they were doing. So I was huffing gas, drinking, smoking weed, doing anything that I could at the age of like 10 or 11. And I really liked huffing because it was something that I could kind of hide and say that I'm doing arts and crafts or something, I remember my grandfather came to bring me and my friend Lucas Subway because my dad worked third shift at a bar. And so he would leave right about the time I get home from school, and Lucas would come over, and we would just go out to my dad's shed, and he had tons of cans of brown paint for some reason. And because he's painted his shed brown. And so I remember we're huffing paint, and here comes the car coming down the driveway. I forget it's my grandfather, because you got the wah-wahs, you're blacking out on the paint. And my grandfather shows up, and I'm like, "Hey, Papa, thanks so much for bringing Subway. It's awesome, And he's like, "What's all over you?" I had brown paint all around my mouth and a ring. And so did Lucas. And I was like, "We got in a fight with a chocolate bar. It's fine." And my grandfather was drunk. He was like, "Whatever, he's drinking and driving. He don't care." But yeah, so that kind of was just like the first party I ever got to go to on Halloween. I was the only person there who ended up being in the middle of the yard trying to climb into a hole in the dirt and throwing up all over my clothes. I remember the kid's mom let him drink, and she actually sold weed with him. Super weird. They were like, he was like 15 years old. His mom and him sold weed. It's like they live right behind Sonic. This is in East Tennessee, man. You know, crazy. But I remember like I was the only person there, and it was like spiked Kool-Aid. And I remember his mom had to wash my clothes off before they let me go home the next day. My dad thought I was having a sleepover. But, you know, I'm throwing up, and they had to, like, I remember one guy hit me in the head with a bucket because I was, like, laying on my back throwing up. That should have been a sign, you know, that my first time ever drinking, I'm the only one there that drank so much that they do for the whole night. But moving forward, just kind of did the normal teenage thing, smoking, drinking, all that stuff, anything I could, and then my mom ended up getting another place in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I was living there again, and then, you know, the fighting with my stepfather continued, and then finally the last time she said, "Go call the cops," you know, I skipped that little story whenever the milk jug happened. So I ran to my friend's house and called the police, and on the walk back I bit a hole through my lip. I don't know if you can see. There's like you probably can't see it on here, but I literally bit a gash through my lip, and I had blood dripping down my face, and I ran up to the police and I said, "Look what he did." I was tired of him not going to jail. And I remember, like, my mom, God bless her soul, man, and don't judge my mom for this, but that she was afraid of being alone, and she was unwell and never got to have the kind of therapy and self-work that a lot of us get to have when we go to rehab. But I remember, like, they slammed him down in the cop car, and they emptied his pockets, and all of Mom's weed was in his pockets. And they took it and held him up to jail, and she walked over and smacked me across the face. I said, "Why did you do that?" You know, and so I think that's definitely that, and my dad just being crazy and insane. I stayed grounded the whole time I was with my dad. It was just, that was like enough to make you kind of become a drug addict from trauma, I think. I'm not sure what makes somebody become a drug addict, but I do think there's trauma, and then also opiates can just make somebody a drug addict who never was. I think, like, you can literally have like a DNA that has perfect, no chance of ever being an addict. Your THQ levels are normal. There's nothing that's going to cause you to be an addict, and you get that prescription from the doctor for your broken leg.
It's on.
You get to watch an episode of Family Guy, you know, with the hydrocodone buzz. You're done, man. You know what I mean?
It's a wrap.
I get it. That's it. And so that's one of the things when I share my story, I always tell people how amazing and awesome and great opiates were. Like, oh my God, so great. And people usually get nervous when you hear me say that in the meeting, like, what's he saying? But of course, you know, there's just no happy ending. It's the problem. And there's no happy ending. I mean, it's like they say in the big book, man, jails, institutions are death, you know. There's just no way to do it successfully. It's just not possible. I don't know anybody who's ever been like, "Oh yeah, I've been using opiates for 30 years now. Yeah, I just
got great.
Yeah, I just bought my third house out. No, it doesn't work that way." And I know because, man, like, it just kept getting worse and worse. And so when I was 15, I overdosed on LSD, which they say you can't do. I ended up going to a little kind of a treatment center, but mental hospital, because I was out of my mind. I kept a ledger of every hit of acid I'd done. I wanted to be the person who had eaten the most acid of anybody in the world. I read all the books by, like, you know, Albert Hoffman and Anarchist Cookbook and all that. I was really into it. Well, anyways, that scared the shit out of me so much. I didn't touch drugs for a year and a half. I didn't anything except for smoke a cigarette. I wouldn't even take an aspirin. And then I ended up moving back with my dad because, you know, Mom was getting out of that marriage. She finally left him. And then I met this girl at school named April, and we fell in love or whatever, and we had she was pregnant, you know, we were both 16 years old. And I remember thinking, man, my dad's going to kill me when I come home and tell him that she's pregnant. But, you know, luckily, I say luckily, that's weird to say, but she had a miscarriage. And then I was like, you know, oh my gosh, my childhood was almost over. Well, then, you know, we just didn't stop there because I'm an addict. And so she got pregnant again. And this time it stuck, and so here I am, that kid who has to have a kid in school, and she's having to drop out. And then this kid had bullied on me my whole life, and he bullied on me the day I found out she was pregnant again. And he, in front of the whole lunchroom, and it just, I'm not going to get into that whole story, but he knocked a sandwich out of my hand and like poked me in the chest. I'm going to make you my bitch. And I just snapped and hit him over the head with a metal chair and broke the ring off his finger, across the neck with it. And so in the state of Tennessee, they considered that like attempted manslaughter. And so you're not able to go back to school in Tennessee after that. Plus, I was already in trouble, always in alternative schools, constantly. I can't even remember a time when I got to go to regular school events. And this was 4 months into 9th grade, this happened. And I failed 7th, so I'm in there with kids that don't even really aren't my age group. So I had to go get my GED because of some weird rule where, anyways, my dad was going to get charged for truancy because he would have to enroll me in a school like outside of Tennessee. It's weird. And then my dad was like, he needs to go to boot camp. And then my mom was like, no, he doesn't. And then my mom told the judge that she smoked weed with me, because that part I didn't tell you, where my mom felt bad for me because I was talking suicidal shit all the time. And she was like, she heard that I was huffing paint, and she brought me a joint. I remember, never forget it, she tapped me on the shoulder. She's like, here, son, this won't kill you. You can smoke this, okay? And, she was doing what she thought was best for me, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to take out for my mom, but, she's just nothing but love, man. She just, and when you're lost and you're full of love, sometimes your decisions may not be the best, but I think it's better than being lost and full of hate. But anyway, so, so I just would do my chores and I would get weed left under the windowsill, and of course I used that so the neighbor couldn't ground me. I'd be like, oh, I'll tell the teacher you smoke weed with me, I was bullshit, man. And then, that was all going on, and the judge was like, well, he can't live with you because there's social workers that come to the house, and my dad had like these dildos on top of the big screen TV. And he had like porno magazines everywhere. He had a big mullet and a tattoo of his dog on his arm. His dog was named D-O-G, okay? Like D-E-O-G-E-I, right? D-dog. And then there's a big rebel flag here. I mean, dude, like, the social workers were just like, freaky. This kid can't live here. And that sucks because, you know what it's like. You love your fucking dad, man. You don't even know why. Like, he played music. He was cool, and I wanted his, respect. And so, but yeah, they were like, you can't. I was in a band, by the way. We had just won Battle of the Bands. I was 16, going on 17. We were having the kid, and anyways, the judge was like, you're going to be sentenced. You're going to go to a group home, and in the state of Tennessee will have custody of you until you're 19. And I just remember like looking over at Thomas, my bass player. He was 35 years old. I'm like 16, grade 4. And I just remember thinking, my life's over. Like, oh my God, like, we just won a Battle of the Bands. We're going to be rock stars. Like, I can't go. And freaking, man, like, mom's crying. No, you can't do that. The judge is not going to let him go with her. You can't go with your grandparents. You're too unruly for them. And so they were like, so literally Thomas walks outside. Nobody knows where he goes. And we're standing there like we're just waiting for the clerk or whatever to come over, and they're talking, by the judge's stand. And I remember Thomas walks in, and it's like a movie, dude. Thomas goes, Your Honor, yeah, this is Dandridge, Tennessee, Jefferson City, Tennessee. For those of you out there who live in East Tennessee, there's like a population of 4,000 people, I think. And everybody knew Thomas. Thomas had a little billboard on the side of the road. He built houses, and he was a well-respected, contractor. And so he goes, Your Honor, can I not adopt him right here today? And the judge goes, Thomas, you're a good man. I respect you. And yeah, you can. But He's going to be your responsibility. If he does anything bad, if he gets out there and does a crime or, causes trouble, it's going to be on you. And he said, I understand that, Your Honor. I'm willing to take responsibility. So right then and there, my bass player and my best friend adopts me. And here I go, man. I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is gonna be great, man. You know, I don't have any more school. I got my freaking GED. I got this freaking driver's license, and I had this $500 car. You know, that my grandmother got me because I got my GED. Because she gave all the other grandkids $1,000 when they graduated high school. So because I got my GED, I got a good enough diploma. I got 500. You know? So, and then. Don't worry, this story's wrapping up. I just can't believe all this shit happened this way. So, I know people have way worse stories and been through a lot, but I think pain is relative to the hurt, you know?
For
Absolutely.
sure. I can't agree more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, Justin Bieber, like, spilling his milkshake on his sock, it hurt just as much as my dad beating the shit out of me. You know?
Relative.
You know? Who knows how pain affects those who are hurting. But, anyway, so Thomas had a different idea in mind because he knew I had no discipline correctly, and he was a really good man, dude. He still is. And if you've ever seen a news interview of mine out in East Tennessee, Channel 10 News, they're really supportive of me, and we do. Every time I always say thanks to Thomas and Kim. But yeah, man, he literally put me working construction. The next morning at like 6 a.m, I was woken up to a can of Spam. Okay, that was my breakfast, and he was like, "You're getting $5, and that's what your money is to eat lunch." And we're going. I was working as a mason, laying brick in the snow. Okay, and then and laying footers out for driveway, pouring concrete, get that 3-2-1 mix going in the wheelbarrow. We didn't have a mixer, man. We were doing the deal, and I hated every second of it. It was miserable. I couldn't stand it. But that's what we did, man. And then, you know, there was lights out, and it was just the most strict living I'd ever really had. But it was good strict. It was like, you know, some structure. And, you know, Thomas would tell me, man, I would try to fight with him, and he'd get up in my face and be like, "You ain't going to talk to me like that." You know, it was just, he was really, I had a healthy, respectful fear for him. And his wife, and the fact they took me into their home, and their kids were still growing up, you know, they were like 8 and 10, and here I am, this freaking weirdo at their house. So yeah, we got a gig opening for Eddie Money, and we were doing some pretty cool things. And then, you know, of course, my daughter was born, and I worked 2 jobs in City Sonic so I could take care of her. And I wanted to be able to put everything in her room when she was born, like the nesting period. Anyway, so April, my daughter's mom called me, and she was like, "We need to talk." And I went to her house, and she was like, "You need to probably go to Nashville and try to do something because you're really talented. There's nothing here in this town for you. Like, there's nothing that's going to ever happen here. And, you know, you may be the only shot that we have at, you know, doing something great out of this town, and you got to go." And the next morning, I packed up and went. The fact that I had her blessing, I didn't want to leave Kaylin. I loved her so much, dude. But I also was still pretty freaking lost and had a lot of learning to do in life, and a lot of scars that were pulling me in a different direction. So I went to Nashville. I started playing on the street. Within a year or so of playing on the street, I worked at Hard Rock Cafe, and then when I got off work, I would go play on the street outside, and I was making like $300 a night playing for tips. And then I got signed to Hollywood Records and got flown out to LA because a producer heard me singing on the street. People said they could hear me all the way from Church Street down the road.
What?
Like from like 2nd Avenue and Broadway, and there's Church Street. People would come from up there, as I sang so loud. I think because I was like so mad at my childhood, I just sang so freaking loud. And then, yeah, I went out to LA, and I got to play for all these huge labels. I played with Rob Cavallo, who signed Green Day Goo Dolls, and he was like, "I'm signing you." And it was so crazy cool. It was amazing, but of course, I didn't realize at the time, but I had this little self-sabotage thing going on. And I just remember there's pictures of me drinking 2 beers at once, you know, when I'm like 20 years old, and the second we got to the studio, I like go and I asked the studio owner, like, where can I find some pills? Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, when I was 17 and a half, almost 18, I injured myself on the job working that construction, cut my wrist right in half, a huge piece of plate glass, and I was prescribed a big bottle of Vortab, and I had no idea what they were. I was just taking them as prescribed. My dad came by the house to see how I was doing, signed my cast, I had the cast on, and he's like, "What'd they give you, son?" I don't know. And he literally he poured 5 of those blue 10 milligrams out, threw them in his mouth, and chewed them up with nothing to drink. And he's like, "Let me get a few more of those for the road, you know?" And I'm like, "What the hell?" As soon as he left, I threw 5 in my hand. And that was it. I was like, this is it, man. Yep. This is the love of my life. This is exactly how I need to feel from now until the end of my existence. I have to feel like this. This is it. It's what I've been searching for. Yeah. This is way better than huffing gas or drinking or smoking weed. This is it, man. Oh my God. I was like, I'd found the cure for everything. And then the prescription ran out.
As they always do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember I thought I had a stomach virus because I was throwing up, right? And I was sick around the toilet. But little did I know that's dope sick. I had no freaking clue. That's how clueless I was to everything, and how a lot of people are so clueless about it. And then around that time, I discovered benzos. I started sneaking into my grandfather's cabinet and getting the benzos. And then I learned the magic of combining the two together.
Oh, yeah.
And that was now my thing. And then I had to make sure I had a whole blunt in my system and all that together. And a little bit of vodka, too. And then that was my thing. And then I discovered cocaine. And I know that a lot of people don't use drug names, but I just have to keep it real, man.
Yeah. Yep.
I hope it doesn't trigger anybody. All I can say is it doesn't end well. And I, just real quick, let me interject into my own story. I found a level of happiness that is 1 trillion times more incredibly fascinating than any drug I've ever taken, than any aha moment I have with chemicals. Because it's being of service to somebody else, giving back to somebody else. That's the key to life, man. That's it. That's literally the greatest high there ever is, there ever will be. And it really gets you high when you do it, not for what you're going to get in return, and you do it, don't even tell anybody you did it. That's the shit where it really becomes magical. And I mean, I'm failing at that right now, telling you that I do that. So I blew the record deal with Hollywood Records. They obviously couldn't work with me. I'm in Capitol Records Studios, the famous Capitol Records. It looks like a bunch of plates stacked on top of each other. You know, you've seen it in all the movies. I'm in there smoking cigarettes when they said no one's allowed to smoke cigarettes in there. Like, even the freaking Beach Boys couldn't smoke cigarettes in there. And I'm like freaking chain smoking. Oh my God, I hate that person. But yeah, so I blew that, and then ended up getting another deal right after that with Parallel Entertainment, the guy who started Blue Collar Comedy Tour, and I blew that deal too and pissed that guy off as well. Went to New York to play for all these labels, huge labels, like the biggest presidents of every record label, and I showed up just fat and wasted. And, you know, not like, there's nothing wrong with being fat, but I mean, it was a bad fat. And then, you know, Dad and I continued to bond more and more over pills. That was our thing. And then I remember my grandmother had got put in the mental hospital, because I didn't even talk about that side of the story. I'm not going to go there. We only have so much time. But my grandmother was mentally ill. Her mom used to lock her in the closet when she was a kid with her sister. And then my grandmother I didn't know this at the time, but my dad eventually told me, like, and my Uncle Brent, he ended up becoming a preacher when he was older, but my grandmother would go and sit down at their bedside at night and just stroke their hair really softly and say, "Mama's gonna kill herself tonight." Oh. That's the kind of crazy she was. Like, she would like walk down the hallway with like a pair of like scissors, and I would just be playing in the floor with like my Hot Wheels or whatever, and she would just walk by and go, like like right next to my face, and then run off. Or like she would just walk in the room for no reason and start smacking you across the face and hitting you and clawing you. And then I remember I pushed her away, and she fell down. And she goes, "Bob," my grandfather's name. "He pushed me down." Oh God, she was everything to him. He was in the shower. He got out of the damn shower, chasing me up the stairs naked with a belt, whipping me, man. Yeah, it was nuts. So, but yeah, so she eventually got put in a rural hospital. She couldn't leave, and my grandfather was there by himself, and he's getting worse. My dad moved in to take care of him because my dad, lost everything because that's what pills do.
Yes.
So perfectly every time, and so I remember showing up over there because I used to always stop by there. It's like I spent the night there lots of times. I had a little apartment that Thomas let me live in. It was underneath a house, and we called it the aquarium because it flooded every time they took a bath upstairs. There's like 3 trash cans in the freaking room. There's just one room like this too. It's hilarious. But anyway, so I would go see Dad because it was like she was in the house, and there's usually food in the fridge, and I would show up, and I remember showing up at my dad's, the fireplace, like the mantle on the fireplace. It's about like, right up to here on your chest. My dad's by the fireplace, like snorting something. I thought it was cocaine or something. He was like, "Here, son, come here, check this out." And he shows me how to take the cellophane and take the pill. It was an Oxy 20, I believe, and take the lighter and crush it, and then take the, license and carve out a line. And my dad taught me that. He even taught me to lick the coating off on the bottom of your shirt, not the top, And I remember doing one little line, like 5 milligrams, and I was like, I don't feel anything. And then I walked outside to smoke a cigarette, and then I felt it. This blows away the other thing. This is it.
Yeah.
And then right at that moment, threw up everywhere, and like on the front porch, and then over the railing, of course. And then I remember as soon as that was over, I was like, I even remember the way the phone looked. That my grandfather had this rotary phone, and I remember looking down at the phone and grabbing it to call somebody. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this is the way I gotta have these forever. This is the best I've ever felt in my life. This is it. And then it was on from there, and I just kept burning through every relationship, the love of my life at the time, and just completely drove her away. I even got physical with her a couple of times because I didn't know that the benzos mixed with the strong opiates was making me violent and crazy and impossible to work with. And so then I decided to leave and go to Jacksonville, Florida, where I would write with some bands who wanted to write with me. A dude from Shinedown, Brad, and like the guys in Cold. I had met the guy Jared Marshall from Cold, and one of the dudes who was a lighting guy for Seven Dust, Jeff Riles, and created this cool following down there. I created a buzz, and next thing you know, I got EMI and Virgin Records calling saying they want to do a deal. And then of course, every time I lived with somebody, they ended up kicking me out because I was a freaking mess. And I was in an extended stay motel with my girlfriend Adrian, who ended up becoming my son's mom. And I got a phone call. And I'm literally having just a little mild party. It's a mild party. A little bit of blow, a little bit of alcohol, Couldn't find any pills that night. Bummer, right? Then we had some mushrooms or something. And I remember I got a phone call. My dad was on the phone. He's like, "Son," because he was already on parole for beating up his ex-wife, right? He hit her in the head with a hammer. He didn't beat her up. He hit her in the head with a hammer one time. Even the cops said they would have done the same thing, by the way. Just saying. Take it up for him. But she broke his 1920s harmony guitar and hit him in the head with plates. And she came after me with an axe one night. I don't know how all these crazy people have gotten in my life. Maybe because you attract what you are the most.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so he was on parole, and then he got caught selling his prescription to an undercover. And so my dad, what he did, because he was with that woman still, and together they got enough pills to where they doctor shopped, and they were able to, they would sell their prescription, which a lot of us have done probably. If you're in that world, you sell your prescription, what you have of it, to be able to live, and then you use the rest, right? And so that's what happened. Dad was selling his prescription, got caught, and he was facing 20 years in prison.
Wow.
And I remember he called me, he's like, son, I ain't going back to jail. I ain't going back. He's like, last time they wouldn't give me medicine, I kept seizuring in there. I'm not going back to jail. I got a 9mm Beretta right here. It's going to take care of all of them. And I was like, you what? Dude, Dad, you can't fucking call your son and say you're going to shoot yourself. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm about to sign with Virgin Records, dude. Like, I'll have enough money to get you like we'll just move you to Mexico, right? Or we'll just get you a really good lawyer. You know? You can just hide out. We'll be fine. Because, you know, man, the parts that I left out of the story was all of our bonding moments, cheating a jam together, playing music together. Like, this guy was my, you know, he's like my freaking dad. Anyway, so, yeah, and he was like, and then I said that about getting a record deal. And he was like, oh, you always say that. You ain't never going to make it. You ain't never going to keep a record deal. You didn't keep the last one. And I was like, dude, fuck you, man. Like, you can't fucking call me and say that, man. Like, I don't know if this is like a Christian station or how.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
But, I mean, nobody even knows what the F word really means. It's just a bunch of opinions on what it really means. Could mean flower for all we know. And so I picked you a dozen fucks for Valentine's Day. Anyway, so I swear I'm sober. So anyway, so yeah, man, I had enough, man. I hung up the phone on him and I went back into the party. And if you've seen the episode on TV, you may already know this part, so I won't go into detail. But basically, he called me back 6 times throughout the night, and I hit ignore each time. And I remember every time I hit ignore, I was like, fuck him, man. Call me and tell me that shit. And then, you know, of course, I remember going out to the beach and partying and, you know, being up to like 8 in the morning and then going to sleep. And I woke up around 5 p.m. or something to my mom sitting on the edge of the bed. Now, my mom lives in Nashville. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. It's like, I was like, what are you doing here? The first thing I said, though, was because I saw her, and then I saw my friend Shad and my friend Mark Beeson. Like, I'm best friends. Like, Shad was from Nashville, too. And I just remember, I literally said, if you're here for an intervention, you're wasting your time. You know, it was all about me. And she just, like, looked at me and she put her hand on my head. She's like, no, your dad broke his promise. Because he always promised he never would do that. And I knew what she meant. Then I was like, it didn't sink in. And she's like, he shot himself. And he actually survived for about 9 hours. But they couldn't get the bullet out of his brain. You know, it went through the roof of his mouth. And he did it, man. And I just remember didn't feel anything. I felt nothing. And it freaked me out because they were all looking at me. I'm like, I should probably react, you know? So I just ran to the bathroom, shut the door, and pretended to throw up really loud. And I just kind of looked at the mirror and I was like, what the fuck? And I came out, and that's when I realized the power that I now had. My new power was being able to play the victim like nobody. And I literally told my mom would never give me pills, but I said, Mom, do you have any of your Nerf pills? Because she had been having anxiety since I put the movie checks. And she's like, yeah, I got these, you know, whatever. I'm going to stop saying drug names now, but you get it. And I took every single one that she had, and we went to a restaurant. I even got my mom to buy me some beer. And yeah, I mean, I still didn't really feel it. And then we had to leave and go back home. And then Virgin Records, EMI called, and they were like, do you still want to, like, we can postpone your trip, you know, because the plane ticket was already booked. And I said, no, my dad would want me to do this. You know, I should have taken time to breathe, but shoulda, woulda, never could. So, but I went to the funeral, and friends were coming up. It was like wedding gifts of just pills. Everybody was coming up and giving me pills and drugs. I had pockets full, and I did every single one of them. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. I did 800 milligrams of opiates and about 20 Xanax bars that day. And I don't even know how I survived, but I blacked out and jumped on top of the casket and wouldn't let them lower it down. I started beating the casket in front of the whole family, ripping the flag off. Like, I just kept screaming, he's going to hell. Because one of my friends had said that to me. Your dad's going to be in hell, dude. And like, freaking Baptist, man. We gotta watch out for Anyway, if you're Baptist, sorry. It's like, man, that's a tough one, dude. That just tell you straight up you're going to hell, bro. And it's like, I was raised Baptist, so my uncle was a Baptist preacher, so that's what I was raised on. That's what I thought, was that he was in hell. So dude, that's when I just went down. And I was going down when I went up to New York to record my record. I couldn't even sing. Like, the producer they had to call my mom and get her to send demos on DVD to try to pull my vocals off. Because I couldn't even sing. I was having $1,000 worth of bills mailed to me in boxes of chocolates. And even my mom was sending me the bills because I had a $250,000 advance. And I remember getting that check underneath the door, and I remember I'd go to the bank account, I'd go to the ATM and check my account balance just to be like, man, I did it, but none of it felt good because I was just, I was miserable. And so I didn't get to really enjoy the making of that record. I was just constantly yelling at people and being crazy. I burned a hole through the mattress, got super wasted. There was always like drugs and beer cans everywhere. And Jason Flom, who was the president of Virgin Records at the time, was in recovery, and I didn't know that. I guess he used to put like aluminum foil on the windows because he was a meth head. And so he heard what was happening, and it was just over. I was dropped. It was like no question. They just didn't have patience to tolerate that shit back then. Especially somebody like me who got signed without ever meeting them. You know, they just felt really like I didn't appreciate the fact that I got a $250,000 record deal without ever meeting them. It was over the phone. Like, that's how much they loved my songs and took a chance on me, and I completely made them look bad. And pretty much got blackballed in the music industry still to this day. But yeah, so man, I just went down farther and farther, and so I'll play a song I wrote whenever I got out of jail. I walked out of the jail, and I don't know if anybody out there is listening has ever experienced how terribly painful cold can be. Like, everybody thinks that fire is the enemy, but the cold, when you're in jail and you can't get a blanket, oh man. And I remember thinking to myself when I was in there, I was like, man, I wonder if, if Dad is in hell, I wonder if, after a million trillion years, he would just get used to the fire and, it would go numb. Hopefully, if that happens, they turn on the freaking air conditioning, they turn on the freezer, and he has to suffer more. I was so mad at him and mad at God, because my dad was reading the Bible every night, and then somehow he still got, influenced to do that. I don't know. It's so, I got out of jail, and nobody would let me stay with him, not even Thomas, not Kim, nobody. You can't stay with us, man. You're a mess. I was wearing the same clothes for a week. I had Nacho Belgrande still on my jeans, and hole from where a cigarette burned all the way through. I was always nodding off with those cigarettes, man. So Thomas, actually, he was like, dude, he's like, the best I can do for you, man, is you're lucky I came and got your ass out of jail. And he's like, and I remember my drug dealer, Riley, I called him up. I was like, dude, I'll give you my guitar. I got my guitar. I just need some pills. And he's like, man, I ain't taking the guitar, man. I'll bring you one pill, but man, you need to get some pill, man. When your drug dealer tells you to get some help,
it's a wrap.
You got a problem, dude. But still, so he met me, gave me one pill, just enough for me to, Thomas, the house that I had the apartment in, the aquarium in the bottom, well, now this was an empty, abandoned house with no electricity. It's a piece of shit. And it had nice hardwood floors, though. It did. But anyway, he went down there, he unlocked the door, he ran an extension cord from the next door neighbor's house, because he owned all 4 houses on that strip, ran it through the window, gave me this little gas lantern, and a tiny little mattress, and threw it in there. He's like, this is your little spot. He's like, this is all I can do. Because I was just literally so much stuff I didn't tell you. I completely totaled my car, drove my car, my brand new Honda that I got with my record deal money. I drove it into the forest. just completely totaled it and then just left it there and walked away and went straight to the dealer's house. Now, by then I was shooting up, by the way. Because the snorting wasn't doing anything anymore. And of course, like you can guess, when I shot up the first time, I thought, this is it.
Yep.
This is the one, dude. Holy shit, this is why people do that. Oh my gosh, like I get it, but I don't even know if I have a voice because I've talked so much, but I just remember laying on that bed, so freaking dope sick, but then the pill started kicking just enough to where I didn't feel totally sick, but you still have that like icky flu feeling on your body, and I just couldn't stop thinking about how this was all my dad's fault. And I know they say you shouldn't blame people, but dude, it was partly his fault. He taught me how to do it. You know what I mean? I was young, and he shouldn't have taught me that. But so I wrote this called Hand in Hand. You hear that okay?
Yep.
We need to go see the guitar, man. Guitar's way cooler than me. Alright, here we go. Just laying there in that empty house playing this. They say when it rains, while the sun is shining, angels guide you. Seems like you would know. Oh, phone's falling. Of course, right when I'm getting into it. Stay. Okay, dude, oh my God, really? Come on. Hey, universe, pretend I'm Post Malone and just let me have my way. Give me 9 awards for writing a song about popping pillies and fucking hoes and bitches. Alright, cool. I shouldn't say that. For what is a man to gain who forfeits his soul around the world? Okay. There we go. Sorry, man.
It's all good. It's all good, man.
Where was it? So, they say when it rains, while the sun is shining, angels are flying. It seems like you know. I trained my life here today and give up my place in the sky. Just to tell you face to face.
That's good.
When you get used to the fire, hope it grows cold and you freeze. The past is a hard place to live. I'll see you soon, oh man. We'll burn hand in hand. I heard when you died by taking your life. No one knows for sure. Yeah, while you're under the ground, looking up at me while I'm here looking down. Hope you can hear me now. And when you get used to the fire,
Pretty powerful lyrics too.
and you breathe. fire. Hope it grows cold and you freeze. 'Cause the past is a hard place to live. So maybe it's time again. If I don't, you win. We'll burn hand in hand.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks, man. Hopefully it wasn't too distorted. That microphone likes to distort sometimes.
Those are some sick lyrics.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Thanks, man. That's one of the only songs I wrote by myself. Most of them are co-writes. But, yeah, man, so basically I went, thanks for listening, man. I went to, I came out of jail, the next time I had to go in. I moved to my mom's. My mom took me, of course, because no one else would. And I just kept shooting up, man. Somehow I convinced a publishing company to sign me, a small little publishing company, and luckily they knew some people at Music Cares, and long story short, when I turned myself in for a DUI, I'd done like the most drugs I've ever done in my life and went into jail. I did so many drugs, I was convinced that I actually died in jail. That's how insane and dark my misery got, was that I was convinced that I had died in jail and then woken up in what actually is hell, which is just a reality that you think is life, except it's all twisted and nothing makes sense, like Post Malone making it big and I don't have money, or like, things like that, or like Nicki Minaj, or like, or just losing everything you love. All these crazy dark thoughts, man. I had become insane. And so luckily, man, when I got out of jail, I had these like broken glasses because I had to, buy drugs. I couldn't get my glasses fixed. That was like $200. And I would keep them right here because they were shattered to pieces with one arm, and they would just like hang like this on my face, And I can't see without them. But now I had given that guitar. I was trying to sell that thing for drugs, and I gave it to my friend Miranda. And I was like, hey, when 48 hours from now, you're going to pick me up from jail. We're going to have a get out of jail party. We're going to go all out, man. And I slept for 19 hours in the jail. Somehow I woke up, the cop yelling at me, you got to at least get down in line for chaw, or whatever he said. My cellmate, this weird dude, hit a woman over the head with a gun for pills. He wouldn't stop rapping his lyrics. He'd been there for a long time. And I was on the top bunk, right head level, and he would just stand there and rap at me the whole time. What do you think about this new song, man? What do you think about this new song? What do I think about it? Well, the same thing I think about most rap. It's amazing that you have so much talent. You can talk, and you learn how to use a rhyming dictionary. Oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. So anyways, yeah. Now there are some good poets, like Tupac and Nas, and anyways, Marshall Mathers is my favorite. Eminem, amazing. So moving on, I go out. I walk out of the jail. I think it's gonna be my friends. I see some shadows. I'm in East Tennessee, and it's 4 hours from Nashville. And I go, man, I'm out. I'm free. Let's party, dude. And I put my glasses on, and it's just my publisher standing there like this, and I'm like, wait, they had to have driven 4 hours to get here. Wait a minute, she just flew back to California like yesterday. What's she doing here? And he just like literally put a freaking contract on the hood of the truck, and he's like, dude, right now you got a bed at Cumberland Heights. You got to go, and you got to sign this, or we're gonna drop you. And that was my paycheck, and that was my only chance of being famous. So I had to pretend to go. So I went to Cumberland Heights, and they wouldn't let me in when I first got there. I had to go to the hospital because I had this huge golf ball size bump on my arm. And my withdrawal levels were so intense. They had to stabilize me before they could put me out in Cumberland Heights because it's in the middle of the woods, So, yeah, man, and I did that, and I just was like, okay, I'm just going to pretend to be sober and get these people off my back, you know, classic story. And then 14 days in, man, first time that I smelled fresh cut grass since I was like 12. Because I didn't realize, I don't know if you know, I don't know what y'all's drugs of choice were, but.
Everything.
Okay,
More.
You know what's up.
More, yes.
Yeah.
What's that?
More.
That's what my sponsor used to always say. The only thing I could do one of is an extra large pizza.
For me, it was meth and coke.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, meth was my big one too. I loved a lot of other things, but that's the one that brought me to my knees.
Yeah, man. Luckily, man, I only did that a couple times, and I didn't. It always made me nervous. But strangely enough, a lot of opiate addicts will switch over to that. There must be some kind of real dopamine boost from it. But man, look at y'all now. You're sitting here taking time out of your freaking day, of your Friday, to like listen to some guy ramble on crazy shit and help other people. So yeah, that's basically, you know, I just remember feeling, and that was when I finally got to feel my dad's suicide. I got to really feel everything. And I remember, I'll never forget, they were cutting the grass. It was like I checked in May 9th, and it was May 15th was my sober date, because that's when I got off of the Suboxone and the phenobarbital, getting off the benzos, and I just remember smelling that fresh cut grass, man, and like, it was like, I just remember, I remember it brought back these memories of baseball practice with my grandfather before like the whole entire family got destroyed by pills. Oh, because I forgot to mention, my grandmother was doctor shopping before anybody even knew it was doctor shopping. That was her thing. Her thing was Darvocets and like, you know, Percodan, like those 70s opiates. That was her thing, man. And so it was just the whole family's curse, man. And so it just destroyed the whole family, and that was such an awakening to see them all, and because of that smell, I think the sense of smell brings nostalgia back more than anything. You can't bring nostalgia back. Nostalgia is bringing something back. Anyway, so I just remember, like it just brought me back to when my dad was like, you know, laying out at the lake, and he was okay, and my mom was like happy, and you know, there was a time when things were, I know that it sounds like my whole childhood was a mess, but it really didn't start till I was around 10 years old, you know? But there was a time when they were happy until the drugs stole that from them. And I really do believe that there's a dark thing, like a darkness that has a consciousness. Anyway, so I fell in love with that, man. I fell in love with the program. I was walking around smelling freaking flowers, and like there was fucking bunny rabbits and double rainbows, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I hit my knees in the chapel, even though I couldn't stand God at all, any of the thought of it. But I was like, it's okay, Mom. I don't have to say it's Jesus and all that. I can just say it's a higher power. It's great. You know, and my mom was like, well, you're going to burn in hell, though. You know? And I remember, like, that pissed me off so much. And I told the counselors, they were like, she doesn't need to come back and visit me for a while. And I ended up staying for 75 days, and I just paced around there thinking of what I was going to say to my mom, and I finally came up with, I'd rather be on the right path calling God the wrong name than be on the wrong path calling God the right name. And for me, that was what summed it up for me. And then I went to extended care, and I remember being about 90 days sober. I'll play you one more, and then I'll shut up and call it a night, but that's cool. You want me to play another one?
Yeah, please.
So I remember sitting outside, and I was just thinking about how I hadn't been miserable in like, holy shit, it's been like over 90 days since I've been miserable. What the hell is going on? This is crazy. And so I just wrote this song to my old friend Misery. It just kind of came out. my dear sweet enemy. Need from time to time. Do you still miss me? You see me smile. Mystery, why do I want you now? Am I used to the pain that I'm not feeling now? And why can't I let you go? Maybe I'm crazy, but I need you so. Don't go away. Tonight you can stay. Keep me company. Oh, misery. Remember the time when I lost everything, but you were right by my side.
Oh, home here.
You got the best of me, and together we cried. Misery, why do I want you around? Am I used to the pain that I'm not feeling now? And why can't I let you go? Maybe I'm crazy, but I need you so. Don't go away. Tonight you can stay. Keep me company. Maybe if I set you free, but then you came back to me, I know that we were meant to be, but it don't feel right. Oh, misery, why do I want you around? Am I used to the pain that I'm not feeling now? And why can't I let you go? Maybe I'm crazy, but I need you so. Don't go away. Tonight you can stay. Keep me. Shit. Don't go away. Tonight you can stay. My misery.
That was another good one, man. That's great.
Thanks, man. But yeah, dude, that's pretty much my story, man. You know, I kind of told it from. I started telling it from right after my time in Cumberland Heights, and how, you know, I kept on wanting to go back, and what finally got me was I managed to stay out there 6 years, and somehow 6 or 7 years, and managed to not die, or as I thought in my insanity when it returned, that I had died several times, and each time woken up in a new reality where things were more fucked, and just, you know, because my thought was, I'm not even gonna share that. You know what? You don't want to know it. Nobody needs to hear it. I'm just gonna leave it where it is. Terrible thought. I wish I never would have thought it. But I don't think it anymore. So that's good. Sometimes I'll be like, man, yeah, maybe this is hell. Every now and then. You know what I mean? It's mainly the music industry. I don't know how does like Universal Records like get around a table and go, okay, listen, Post Malone, man, we love that song that you sing to the kids about fucking pills and popping pillies. Man, and how you feel like a rock star? We want to put millions behind that. We're going to put you on the front of Spotify. We just think it's great. Like, how does that happen?
It's like an alternate universe.
Yes, it happens because the darkness is winning. And I do believe the darkness can win. And what I mean by that is, you know, the devil or darkness wins whenever it gets our souls. and God loses when God loses our souls. And I mean, if every single person picked evil right the second before they died, well, the Battle of Armageddon would look pretty awkward. It would be just like God standing there alone and the devil with every soul behind him. And it's kind of like, I always imagine the devil or the darkness, whatever you would call it, as the dark energy, the dark force, whatever you would call it. I imagine it like a suicide bomber on an airplane. You know, it's like, I'm sure that God can just, and you're gone, but that doesn't matter to it. Like, it's winning and it's mine because it has you on a plane with it. And so that's just my outlook on it. I'm trying to write it into a song because I don't think I'm good at preaching. I usually end up offending somebody, or somebody thinks I'm blasphemous, or whatever. Or how can you be a Christian artist and think that the devil's going to win? I'm like, no, the devil is winning. Like, that's what's happening right now. Like, it's just, in America anyway.
Yeah.
So anyways, before I say anything else dumb, yeah, so that's basically, that's it, man. I was at a party in 2018, August 8th, and I was drinking again, and, you know, that's what this disease does to me. Its greatest gift is to make me forget how bad it was, and it also makes me forget how good it was sober. And that's its greatest gift. And it's cunning, baffling, and powerful is an understatement, man. So that's why I have to do this kind of stuff, because for whatever reason, like, I won't use today because this. Like, I just know that I won't. Like, I'll make it until tomorrow, pretty sure. But I was at a party, man, and it was just perfect. It was my first time having a bonfire on the beach, and this guy was over in the, going, you know, and I just walked up to him. I was like, what do you got, man? He's like, whatever you want, man. I got everything. And, you know, so it was like, I don't know. I was just like, I can't believe this is true. And I was like, I want like 2 Roxys. That's what I want. And I still talked to my sponsor at the time. And don't worry, this story's not long. But I called it meticulous melting is what I call it. That was my excuse. And I talked everybody into it around me to believe that I was okay. I mean, they knew I wasn't, but, you know, I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I set an alarm on my phone for every 2 minutes, right? I had it set up, said turn on alarms, and my alarm would go off every 2 minutes just in case I stopped breathing. And I would just take a very small amount of milligrams, smaller than what I'd ever taken before, and I knew that it wouldn't kill me, and I would lay down, and just literally just lay down and just put a movie on, and I called it meticulous melting, and I thought it was healthy for me. Going from like 3 years sober to that, thinking that was actually, I was like, dude, if you try to stay sober, man, you're gonna end up like your heart's gonna blow up because it's too stressful. Like, you gotta like once a month be able to cut loose, you know? I was like, so crazy. But so I got those 2 R30s from that guy, and you know, remember, this somebody could take 800 milligrams and be fine. So I went to the bathroom, and it had been a long time since I'd smoked something. And I was like, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna screw it. I'm gonna do it. I was 20 shots of tequila deep, you know? And so I I also talked someone into giving me a Xanax earlier that day. And I remember I crushed it up on the counter, and I was like, I should only do half of this. I did the whole thing, and put the other one in my pocket. And dude, it was like the scene in Pulp Fiction. I'm like, what the hell was that? It burned. It wasn't like anything I'd ever felt before. It was different. And I remember I came out of the bathroom, and luckily the woman who was hosting the party had brought me out to play for these people. It was a private show, $2,000 to play a show for people. And I'm in their bathroom snorting pills. But she was like, her boyfriend was a prison guard. They were like standing outside the bathroom. What are you doing in her bathroom? What are you snorting in there? And I just remember saying, oh, what does it matter, man? You guys are drinking once, like you're freaking holier than that. That was the last thing I remember, dude. That was it. And then I remember waking up and feeling like really cold and clammy and naked. And my chest hurt really bad. And then all of a sudden this tube came out of my mouth. And I looked up, and there's the EMTs around me. And they were doing chest compressions. And I was out, dude. I was flatlined for 60 seconds straight. And the ambulance guy, the EMT said, you were dead for 60 seconds. Do you realize that? And I just remember saying, this isn't what it looks like, y'all. I was just meticulously melting. That pill, I said, that pill was laced with something, man. You need to go get the other one back in there. Get it. And I'm telling you, it's gotta. And they said, well, you know, there's lots of fentanyl going around. It was definitely fentanyl, fake oxy is what it was. Or it was just the regular thing, and maybe my heart just can't handle it anymore. I don't know. Or maybe it was a combination of all the alcohol. And, you know, they say what gets you is when you come out of rehab and your tolerance isn't there anymore, you know?
Yep.
And you go to do what you used to do, and it got me, dude. And that was my eye-opener, and I was like, I'm never doing anything again. And then I started drinking again and smoking weed again, and I started meticulously melting again. But luckily, I was able to catch it and go, wait a minute, no, okay. I just went to a meeting, and I said, I need help. I'm probably going to die. When they said, does anyone have a burning desire? I literally was like, I'm going to die. Like, I can't stop. Like, even dying didn't make me stop. Even everything I've been through didn't make me stop. And so, they had a little intervention in the back room. They made a phone call to America and addiction centers in America. And boom, I got to go to Oxford. That's my story, man. That's it. But, yeah, man. If you want, I can play you one more tune.
Please.
I leave, or,
Please.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
what has it been, 2 hours now?
I don't know.
What time is it anyway?
Left my phone out in the other room so it wouldn't ring.
7:29.
7:29 your time?
Yeah,
Yes.
our time.
Yep.
Okay, so what time is that my time? 5:29?
Yes.
Cool, alright. Well, I figured, I might as well play Post Malone for y'all. So this is a song that I wrote called Post Malone. I'm going to keep on talking about it. You mind if I play that tune?
No, go ahead.
Go for it.
Figure, why not do one that's not all about recovery for a second? Something just to kind of... Here's a tune that I wrote. I'm actually recording it. I can't wait till it's done. It's going to be so cool sounding. But, okay. Let's see it. Really needs to have one of those cutaway guitars to do this properly, but I'm gonna pull it up. Here goes another travel star, mumbling about pills. We're rolling in a sports car through the Hollywood Hills. If you ain't got a tattoo, face or grill, you'll never be a travel star. Los Angeles carry me home. Above the wildfires, out to the coast. I never sell my soul. I'll never be a ghost, no.
That's pretty good.
Don't know what all the great ones OD and die, while all the fucking fake ones somehow survive. Oh, I guess that getting famous is the new suicide.
That's good.
Carry me home. Above the wildfires, out to the coast. 'Cause I never sell my soul. I'll never be up close, no. If you're gonna make it in this city, better have a neighbor or be pretty. If you're gonna make it in this city, better have a neighbor or some titties. If you're gonna make it in this city, Los Angeles carry me home. Above the wildfires, down to the coast. I'd rather sell my soul. I'll never be on close enough. I'll never be on. same hi-hat that's in every single song on the radio. Yeah. All right, man.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Oh, well, we just want to thank you so much for doing this. This was great.
Thank you so much for. Gosh, I need a copy of this myself to like. I think that may be the most thorough I've ever told my story. That was. I feel like I just told it so many times in the last couple months. I've figured out the parts that I just left out. But thank you so very much. I just hope that I hope somebody can connect with it, and
Yes.
I just want to let everybody know, like, my team and I, we check every single message. It's not like just some strangers. These are people I've known for 20 years, like very trusted people that I share my inbox with. So if you are out there and you feel like you don't want to, like, you can say whatever you want to say. You can even just say, hey, I need some help. And I promise you, I will reach back out. I will make time. Because God makes time for us when we need it. And I promise you I will get back to you. And also take probiotics, man, but talk to your doctor first. And get sunlight. Sunlight, vitamin D3 is so important. Because, if you drink a lot of alcohol, you've killed your gut flora. So that's the reason you feel like shit and you're depressed. Vitamin B3, vitamin B12, vitamins, like good diet. Just like, don't give up before the miracle happens, I swear. Just go walk. Just go walk for 10 minutes. Oh, and breathe deep. This is for your listeners, not for you. Just for everybody, just breathe deep, man. I know it sounds so stupid. I used to have an alarm that went off on my phone every day that says, don't stress about remembering to breathe deep. Just breathe deep when you're stressed. It was like, it's so amazing what a deep breath, when the brain has enough oxygen in it, it will problem solve so well. And that's what I try to tell people, man. Like, I can't believe that all those years I thought that feeling was helping me, but really it was keeping my brain from being able to problem solve my life. And I couldn't figure out anything, not the feelings, relationships, where to go next, where to not go. And so once I finally let my brain heal by taking some antidepressants that were prescribed to me by a doctor, all you hear is tragedy stories about them, but there's way more success stories than there are. I'm not telling anybody to go take. I'm just saying, these are what I just want to leave you with. That I'm rambling, dude. That's pretty much it. Oh, and a gratitude list when you wake up. Gratitude list when you wake. You don't have to write it down. Fuck that. Just, I'm grateful for my eyeballs. I'm grateful for shoes. I'm grateful for warm water. Just those are the things that help me fight the darkness. And then, of course, the number one thing, help somebody that needs some help, or I'm not perfect, dude. I've got so many mistakes, but I'm gonna stop talking now. That's what I'm gonna do. And
well, hey Nolan, I just wanted to. Where can people find your music?
Yeah, NolanNeal.com, man, and you'll find every single thing I got out there. Or you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, all those things. But if you want to read my recovery story, or if you want to know more about whatever, or you want to check out some music, or I also have a Patreon page where it's $1 a month, man. That's how I basically am paying my bills. So if you can go sign up for that, that'd be great. And I've been posting basically songs that I haven't released yet, and just private little concerts, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been really cool to connect the audience. But that's NolanNeal.com will lead you to all those different things. NolanNeal.com. And
I saw you had I saw you had some shirts on there too. My wife's a big fan of the Butterfly song, so I'm gonna probably have to order one of those.
For sure.
Thank you. Well, the new store is almost up. It should be launching in a few days now.
Awesome.
I got a new web developer. He's awesome, and so there's going to be a couple different varieties of butterflies. If you don't like them, my mom sees that butterfly. She's like, "It looks like a bug got smashed on the windshield." My mom, it's supposed to be a Rorschach test, like mental, like it's a sign. It's not blatantly a butterfly, but we have some blatant butterflies for those who want to support the song and everything like that. But dude, y'all are awesome, man. I really felt at home with you all.
Oh, yeah, same
really
here.
Cool. Y'all have a cool synergy together. How did you all meet?
He was selling drugs out of my flop house.
I'm not kidding around.
No, seriously.
Totally serious.
Yeah.
And then he sobered up, and I went to prison. And then when I got out, he was the only person I knew that was sober and clean. And so I just, it boggled my mind that he was still okay. And we've right away I asked him, hey, can you be my sponsor? And then we kind of started like that, and it's just our friendship has grown. And then we wanted to give back, and that's how our recovery life was born. We're like, there has to be more, be able to give back, and that's how we're here. Yeah,
it's been a great ride too.
That's so cool, man. That's awesome. You guys met that way, and then you ended up getting sober. You guys are experiencing the thing where it's like it's better than any drug you ever felt, right?
Oh yeah.
And then the coolest part about it is our family's upstairs with kids running around everywhere, and we're down. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
and both of our wives are in recovery, or his girlfriend, my wife, or.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is the best part when families get back together. It's like just man, and well, good for y'all, man. Enjoy that dream come true that you have there. That's awesome.
And we want to again thank you so much for taking time out and sharing your story. And we can't. We're really
really grateful.
For it. Hey, thank y'all again, and let's do it again sometime. I'll do a shorter version. I'll always play some songs for your followers or whatever, your listeners. So
all right.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much.
Keep in touch, all right?
All right, you too, man.
Have a good one.
I'll send y'all Post Malone when it's done.
All right.
We'll take you up on that.
All right, beautiful. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yep.
And on that note, fight the good fight.
Keep it clean.
Am I used to the pain that I'm not?